You have the right to, but
hang on.
Pretty good about seeing through deceptions.
Hang on. It does. Your initial claim that atheists are somehow taking it easy on Islam, I find is absolute utter nonsense, because we're all. Not only has it not been the case from any prominent outspoken atheist, from Pat Condell right all through Dawkins and the rest of them down, directly attacking Islam, and Sam Harris doing it just the other day, but it's gotten so prominent that Ray Comfort, who once upon a time used to say, hey, you guys are afraid to go after Islam, is now posting on his blog saying, hey, I wish you atheists would stop going after Islam because it's dangerous. So I don't accept the premise that atheists are somehow soft on Islam. And if your reason for that is because of positions regarding the mosque, then you've missed the point entirely, because the mosque has nothing to do with our position on Islam.
Yeah, the discussion that we were having on the nonprofits,
it's a matter of law.
The discussion that we were having on the nonprofits regarding the Part 51 construction had to do with the constitutional rights of this particular group of American Muslims. It had nothing to do with our agreement or disagreement or our liking or disliking of Islam as a religion.
But
nothing
would
whatsoever.
you speak out if Fred Phelps wanted to build a chapel near where Matthew Shepard was killed?
No.
No.
You wouldn't call him a jerk for
a jerk?
A jerk. I'd call him a jerk, but I won't say, and because I think he is a jerk, he can't be allowed to build his building.
No, he's allowed to, you see, there's a lot of liberals who don't want to believe that Muslim leaders can have an agenda too. I mean, they'll call a Christian.
Well,
again,
what does that have to?
He's obviously got an agenda like intelligent design. We knew that was an attempt to get the Bible back into classrooms.
No, it's not.
Well, it's.
See, you're extending and overgeneralizing. First of all, the people who are building the mosque are not necessarily the same people that you would identify with an agenda that relates to 9/11. They're just not. And so by conflating the two, and then you shift to Fred Phelps, well, that is the individual with an agenda. That's why I said your analogy doesn't work. In one case, Lee, we have a person who is demonstrably trying to make a statement, and in the other case, we have people who are trying to build a civic center.
Well, even the supporters call it a mosque. I've seen the 60-minute episode.
I don't give a rat's ass if it was a mosque.
It can be a mosque.
It can be a mosque.
Yeah. And Imam Rauf still calls it. He calls it Cordoba House. He doesn't call it Park 51.
Well, I don't care.
Again, what does it matter?
But there's people are still defending it.
Because you should be defended.
Right. They have the right to build it.
They have the right to build it, but is it okay? So it's impossible that Muslims.
Are you aware? Are you aware that there are mosques closer to Ground Zero currently?
I know there's one 4 blocks away.
So what is the objection? Because whether it's a mosque or community center, it is farther away than one is nearer.
Well, I'm just saying that if I still make the Fred Phelps analogy because it's an in-your-face. We know it's an in-your-face.
You make the Fred Phelps analogy because it seems to support your point, which is fatuous.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know that it is an in-your-face. You assume that it is.
I will tell you all day long.
We don't know Fred Phelps would be doing it as an in-your-face. We don't know he'd be doing it, but
your analogy sets it up that he would be.
Yeah,
you can't be that dumb about that.
The assumption that
we'd have to be dumb to not see through his agenda. But
I tell you what, I'm almost not dumb enough. I'm almost so that I. Never mind. Go ahead.
Again, you are making an assumption about the motives behind building the Cordoba House / Park 51 / whatever the hell.
Right. Fred Phelps wanted to build the chapel. My
God, Lee, I swear I'm going to hang up.
Dude, screw
Fred Phelps.
I'm
going to hang up in a second.
Okay, screw Phelps. He's got nothing to do with this discussion. We're talking about this particular construction.
It does illustrate where
no, it doesn't illustrate anything.
You're on hold.
It illustrates the fact that you are making a false analogy in order to make a point, claiming that there is a motive behind the Part 51 construction that is intentionally confrontational and anti-American and designed to be a form of, political provocation. And there is no basis for that. In fact, the mosques that are in that same area, in the same Ground Zero neighborhood, have for a long time, in fact, been attempting to expand because, this has been a construction that's been planned for some time. So there's no basis. This is the same question that was asked to me of someone on Facebook when we were having this whole discussion, when this was a big controversy back in the summer. They said, well, would you be happy if, first off, I'm not happy with the construction of churches or mosques or anything. I don't generally support religion as on principle. But, they said, well, how would you feel if a church decided to build in a lot that was right next to an abortion clinic that had been bombed? And I would say, my answer was the same with Part 50. How I feel about it is irrelevant. If that is a church that owns that land as private U.S. citizens, they've got the right to build on it. Now, if it happens to be located next to this event, does that prove that these same people, you're making a composition fallacy. There's a guilt by association fallacy where because one group of Muslims did a thing for a specific set of political reasons, every other Muslim bears guilt, collective guilt for that crime. That is what is behind the objections to the construction of Part 51.
Yeah, if you want to fix your analogy, instead of going with Fred Phelps building up next to Matthew Shepard, pick a random Baptist church and do it.
Yeah. So Fred Phelps is special. He's
my God, you're being thick.
Yeah,
I said replace Fred Phelps in your analogy. Hang on, I said replace Fred.
Why are you opposed to Fred Phelps though? I mean, he is probably the most outspoken jerk of the religious right.
And does he represent every Baptist alive?
No, he doesn't.
So if Fred Phelps protested at something, right, and then a week later an entirely different Baptist church came along and said, and there's at a lot 200 yards away from where that protest took place, said, we want to put up a church here. Are you going to be up in arms and say, oh, I see through your agenda, you're one of those sneaky Baptists, just like Mr. Fred Phelps?
Well, being a former Baptist, actually, I would say yeah, because they would
Then you're an idiot.
Now, I don't know if you've noticed this, but there is a lot of people who will apologize for the extreme actions of the extremist wing. They'll say, "Well, yeah, it's wrong that they did that, but you got to understand why they did it," and they'll apologize for it. Now, Imam Rauf, he did say he threatened violence if the Park 51 Cordoba House.
No, he never did.
No, he didn't.
No, he did not.
The Islamic world would explode with violence. Now,
that's not a threat.
That's not a threat.
Now suppose.
All right. How about you get your news from news sources instead of conspiracy sources? And how about you actually think about this? Because you constructed a horribly flawed analogy, and when we point it out, you just keep coming back to it. And also, your entire point is irrelevant because what we've said, first of all, is that our position on the mosque has nothing to do with, is no relation to our position on Islam. We are actually being objective in our assessment here because I would personally rather never see another church built for the rest of my life. Church, civic center, mosque, whatever, for the rest of my life. I'd rather see every penny of that go to people who actually fucking need it.
Okay, if I can just make one calm point real quickly. My whole issue is this. If when people act like jerks in the name of religion, it's like when Christians do it, you're more than willing to call them on it. It's
sure.
But no, like, okay, Fred Phelps, okay, sorry. When he acts like a jerk, you're willing to call him on it. It's legal for him to protest funerals, but it's being a jerk about it. But if Muslims do something, it's always with the best intentions.
See,
and it's
okay, hang on, let me stop you right there. Let me stop you right there, and I'll tell you.
You've never criticized.
No,
that is bullshit. You are so completely. You're done, by the way.
Well,
I'm going to put you on hold so you can hear me ream your ass out because, first of all, I go after Fred Phelps when he's wrong, and I support his ass completely when he's right, like when they slashed his tires and wouldn't replace him the other day. And when Islam and clerics and Muslims go out and do something, I oppose that as well, and I support them when they're right. This is what you don't seem to understand, that I don't care whether or not they were building a mosque or a bomb factory. If it's legal, it's legal. And you go after the illegal things in a different way. And for you to pretend that atheists are somehow taking it easy on Islam, when, for example, Sam Harris just the other day made the brilliant point of saying that we only talk about these things with relation to Islam because there's no Reform Judaism version of Islam, and we don't talk about them with regard to Amish and stuff, that we recognize a demonstrable threat here, and that we talk about it. It's just...
And here's the distinction that you are deliberately obfuscating, and this is where you are being deliberately dishonest. You first try to make your analogy to Fred Phelps. Say, well, Fred Phelps does something, you call him on it. Then, when you shift over to talking about 9/11 and the mosque and what have you, you go from an individual to a group. You go from Fred Phelps to Muslims. And that is where the dishonesty in your whole attempt to make an analogy is happening.
That's it.
Okay?
Yep.
One group of Muslims associated with a terrorist organization committed an act of war 9 years ago. Bad shit. We were certainly all over it when it happened. We were very critical, and we have been, if you know anything at all about us, and if you've read the blog, if you've listened to this program, We were coming down on the Taliban and the Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden and all the rest of it. We were coming down on those guys for all of their crap and their oppression of women and what have you, long before September 11th, 01.
The problem here is that you have uncritically accepted claims, and when we don't object to what somebody supposedly said, you think that we're taking it easy on them, when instead we're just not idiotic enough to buy into what we're being fed and go around spreading lies about people. The guy did not threaten violence. He talked about the real possibility of violence. There's a difference, and if you don't recognize that, that's part of the problem. And it would be asinine for me to come on here and start saying the stuff that you think I should be saying. And if you don't like it, don't watch.
Yes.
I don't mind.
And again, to claim that we are not willing to criticize a certain group, we are willing to attack a group of Muslims who do a thing.
No. And that's the other thing. It's not we're attacking a group. We're attacking ideas and actions that people take.
Let's say an organization.
Yeah.
One Muslim organization, and then when an entirely different Muslim organization decides they want to build a mosque, the fact that we can make a distinction between those two organizations, even though they both do claim the same religion,
yeah, and
the motives between those two organizations, now if you have some sort of evidence that, this group building Park 51 is exactly the same group, the Al-Qaeda, they're directly affiliated with Al-Qaeda, and I know that there are a lot of conspiracy theories trying to claim that. But don't come here with some bullshit saying that, oh, well, we're not willing to go after Muslims because you just haven't been paying attention to us, if that's what you think.
Or anybody else. I mean,
and your argument is...
Look at every one of the top atheists. All they've been doing lately is going after Muslims.
Yeah.
You guys are afraid to go after Islam. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Next.
Again, just do a search for Islam on the Atheist Experience blog and look at some of the stuff I've written.
Yeah, next.
So anyway, next.
We got Kevin in New York. How are you? And sorry for the wait.
That's good to get riled up, though.
Dylan.
Kevin?
Yeah, hi.
How are you doing?
Sorry for the wait.
That's all right. Enjoying the conversation.
Well, all right.
That makes one of us.
Oh, I was enjoying it very much.
I hate lies.
Well,
and I hate idiots.
I love calling out lies, though.
Anyway, so go ahead, Kevin.
What have you got for us, sir?
I just want to say I believe I can prove the existence of God.
Oh, boy.
Bring it.
All right. Basically, you have sexual reproduction. I mean, you have the scientific fact that all life can only come from life.
No, you don't.
Life, anyway.
No, you don't have that as a scientific fact.
Yeah, we do. It's called the law of biogenesis, actually.
It's not. It's not what you're saying, that all life can only come from life. It's that all we've observed is life coming from life. Abiogenesis, by the way, is a field of study that is demonstrated scientifically in the lab that life can come from non-living matter.
It actually can't. That's not true.
Well,
okay.
Believe me, I've done the research. I've been on both sides of the fence.
Okay, give us a site for that.
Hang on, because I'd ask you how on earth you can baldly assert that when people like John Oros have demonstrated that it does happen. I mean, and not just the Uri Miller experiments, which had a different atmosphere from Earth, but still demonstrated that you get the building blocks of life from non-living material. But Oros has done work with this as well. We know that it's at least possible. And not only that, but we know that it had to happen.
Yeah, and life is, life is chemistry, really. I mean, it's just...
Actually, the Miller-Urey experiment didn't really prove anything. All it said, like you said, it proved that building blocks of life can be formed, but...
What's all you mean?
That's like saying you got a pile of bricks and that makes...
No, it's not like saying that. No. It's not like we ended up with a bunch of Legos and nobody to put them together. We're talking about self-replicating DNA. Yeah. Or RNA in that case.
Yeah.
That has never been proven in any lab experiment ever.
Okay. I disagree with you, but however, even if it hadn't, it doesn't mean...
I disagree with something that's pretty much blatant fact.
Well,
Kevin, even if it had never been proven, which is an assertion of yours that I disagree with, it doesn't prove your point. See, just because we haven't demonstrated that life can come from